For the first time, we're hearing witness testimony in the trial of Alec Murdaugh. And Murdaugh appeared emotional, as you can see, when he heard about the night his wife and son were found murdered. We heard from several witnesses, including deputies who responded to the scene that night, and from dispatchers, all painting a picture of the night Maggie and Paul were killed. And we also heard 911 calls from the night of the murders played in court.
The South Carolina Law Enforcement Division released a redacted version of the 911 call from Alec Murdaugh in 2021. But today, we heard a part of the call that had not been released before. Now, in this 911 call, you can hear Murdaugh speak with dispatchers about discovering the bodies. You can also hear the dispatcher ask Murdaugh if it's possible Maggie and Paul shot themselves. Murdaugh responds frantically, asking first responders to please hurry.
Yes, sir. Stay on the line with me, okay?
Hello?
I'm still here. Stay on the line. I'm still here, okay? Collison, I have an Alex Murdaugh on the line, caller from 4147 Moselle Road. He's advising that his wife and child was shot. Mr. Murdaugh, go ahead and talk to Collison.
It's 4147 Moselle Road. I've been up to it now. It's bad.
How did they shoot? Did they shoot themselves?
Oh, no. Hell no.
Okay, and are they breathing?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and you said it's your wife and your son?
My wife and my son.
Are they in a vehicle?
No, ma'am. They're on the ground out at my kennel. I can tell that he's shot in the head, and he's shot really bad. He's shot really bad.
Later on during testimony, we heard a part of the 911 call that had never been released before, and parts of the audio you're about to hear are hard to understand, but there are moments when you can clearly hear Murdaugh tell the dispatcher son Paul was previously threatened and even assaulted.
He's been being threatened by my son had a boat sex. He's been being threatened for months and months and months. He's been hit several times, and
Do you know who was threatening your son?
it's too easy.
And do you know the name of who was threatening him at all?
My son knows. My son knows.
Your son knows who was threatening him?
I have another son now.
Now, not long before we heard these 911 calls, we heard testimony from the deputy who was first on scene, who also said Murdaugh told him that his son was getting threatened. Now, let's go ahead and bring in Fox Carolina's Grace Runkle, who's inside the courtroom here this afternoon, there in Walterboro. And Grace, audio from the deputy's body cam, we heard it there inside the courtroom. What did it reveal?
Well, there was one moment that really stood out, that really got the attention of everyone in the courtroom, whether they were sitting in the audience or in the jury box. And it happened shortly after that Sergeant Daniel Green first arrived on scene at the Murdaugh's home. He begins talking with Alec. Take a listen to what Alec says.
This is a long story. My son was in a boat wreck a few months back. He's been getting threats. Most of it's been benign stuff we didn't take serious. Okay. You know, he's been getting like punched. I know that's what it is.
He is, of course, referring to the 2019 boat crash that killed Mallory Beach. The boat belonged to the Murdaugh family, and at the time of his death, Paul was facing felony charges of boating while under the influence and causing that crash. Now, on the body camera footage, you can hear the officer ask if the Murdaugh family reported the threats made about Paul. Alex says yes, they did. The prosecution argues it's suspicious how quickly Alec brought up the crash. Also on the body camera video, you can hear officers mentioning this family, the Murdaughs, are the ones from the boat crash. Several witnesses also testified that they had heard about that crash on the news. And of course, everything's going to continue tomorrow morning at 9:30. We'll be going back inside then to bring you coverage from inside the courtroom. Justin.
All right, Grace, and again, this is the first day of testimony that we're hearing from witnesses there on the stand. And so when we hear that mention of the possible threats there being directed at Paul, did we see any reaction from the defense or the prosecution?
You know, we didn't see too much of a reaction. I think this was something that a lot of people thought was going to be brought up during the trial. So I think people were more, expecting this to come about. I think in the jury box, we did see people perk up a little bit once they played that audio because, as you heard, it was very distressing to hear. And knowing that was one of the very first things that Alex said to officers on the scene definitely leaves an impression.
All right, a lot of emotion there on the call and inside the courtroom today. Grace Runkle Forrest, thank you so much. She'll be inside the courtroom there in Walterboro throughout this entire trial. Make sure you go and stay connected as well through Fox Carolina News. We'll be on air, online. You can also stream us on Roku, Apple, and Fire TV.